What if I told you that the next great human civilization wasn't being built on Earth? Imagine an empire with limitless energy, a digital economy floating among the stars, and a supply chain stretching across the solar system. While most of the world is busy with problems down here, one superpower has already changed the game, moving the entire board to a new arena: space. Just look at this headline for a moment from China Global Television Network. This is the story behind today's video. China steps up research on space mining technologies. With that said, let's go straight to the intro. You see, this isn't some what-if scenario from a movie. It's happening right now in orbit, over our heads. We're not talking about just planting flags anymore. We're talking about building a full-blown industrial empire. They call it the Interstellar Silk Road. So what's really going on here? Well, it's a complete redefinition of what global power even means. For centuries, nations fought over land, over resources, over influence on the ground. But China has decided to, well, just move the goalposts. The new high ground isn't some mountain range, it's low Earth orbit and everything beyond it. And here's the really critical part. If you haven't been paying attention to this massive shift, you're already being left behind in the stardust. This isn't some far-off sci-fi dream. No, this is a very real, meticulously planned, and heavily funded strategy that is unfolding right now at incredible speed. And this isn't happening by accident. It's all laid out in China's 15th five-year plan. We're talking about everything from mining the moon to launching colossal data centers into orbit. They are executing an absolute masterclass in planetary scale strategy. So today, we're going to break down how China isn't just running in the new space race, they're literally defining the track itself. Okay, first up, securing the almost infinite resources of our solar system. Forget drilling for oil. The real treasure is out there waiting on asteroids and moons. And you know what? China has built the key to unlock it all. Say hello to the interstellar miner. This thing is designed to solve the single biggest problem with mining in space: microgravity. I mean, think about it. How do you drill into a rock when you're floating around? The moment you push the drill, it just shoves you backwards into the void. Well, scientists at China University of Mining and Technology found a brilliant solution by, get this, looking at nature. What they built is honestly a masterpiece of biomimicry. It has three-wheeled legs inspired by insects so it can zip across the surface of an asteroid. But then it has another three legs tipped with massive claws inspired by woodpeckers. And those are designed to do one thing and one thing only: anchor it down hard. This dual-function design is what makes it a total game changer. And the numbers here are just staggering. Those claws can generate 600 newtons of anchoring force. That's more than enough to lock this miner firmly onto a spinning rock in space while it drills and extracts resources. And this isn't just a lab toy. It's the very first step in a plan that spans a century to harvest the solar system. And this tech is already getting its big debut with the Tianwen-2 mission. This thing is an absolutely epic doubleheader of a journey. First, it's going to fly out to a quasi-moon of Earth, a little space rock called Kamelowa. It'll use 4 robotic arms to lock on and scoop up a sample. Then, after dropping that precious cargo back at Earth, the mission keeps going. It'll use a gravity slingshot to whip itself across the solar system to chase down a comet. This is incredibly complex, high-stakes engineering. But it's not just about, grabbing rocks and minerals. All this new space industry needs a brain, a massive nervous system to manage it all. And that's why the second pillar of this strategy is to build the entire backbone of our next digital age in space. They're creating what's being called the space cloud. And when you look at this comparison, it just makes perfect sense why they're doing it. Down here on Earth, data centers and AI are becoming an environmental nightmare. They guzzle unbelievable amounts of power and water just for cooling. But in space, you get perpetual free solar energy and a perfect cold vacuum to radiate heat away. It completely bypasses our terrestrial limits and establishes something they call orbital sovereignty. And believe me, this isn't just some idea on a whiteboard. China's space cloud is already happening.
Projects like the three-body computing constellation, which started launching in 2025, are putting up huge networks of AI satellites. We're talking about a gigawatt-level digital infrastructure in orbit. They are literally moving the digital economy off-planet. Okay, so you've got mining, you've got computing, but how do you power all of this? I mean, really power it. This is where China's vision goes from ambitious to, frankly, legendary. They are going after what many are calling the ultimate fuel, and that fuel is something called helium-3. And just look at this chart. It tells you everything you need to know. This isotope is the perfect fuel for nuclear fusion, and it's basically non-existent here on Earth. But the moon? The moon is covered in it, baked into the soil by billions of years of solar wind. The moon isn't just a rock, it's the solar system's ultimate gas station. The amount of energy we're talking about here is just mind-boggling. Get this, just 20 tons of helium-3, that's about what 2 dump trucks can carry, could power all of China for an entire year with clean fusion energy. This isn't just an energy solution, it's energy independence on a scale we've never seen before. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Fusion power. Isn't that always 30 years away? Well, maybe not anymore. China's experimental fusion reactor recently smashed something called the Greenwald limit, a huge physics barrier that's held fusion back for decades. They are proving that self-sustaining reactions are possible, and their goal is to have fusion power on the grid by 2030. You combine that tech with a steady supply of helium-3 from the moon, and you have a civilization that has officially outgrown its homeworld. So let's just step back for a second. When you put all these pieces on the board, the asteroid miners, the orbiting data centers, the near-limitless fusion power from the moon, you start to see the truly breathtaking scope of what China is building in the final frontier. And the difference between this approach and other space models couldn't be more stark. While many Western programs have to deal with what sources describe as deeply gutted funding and are often reactive, driven by prestige, China is playing a different game. This is sustainable orbital industrialization, backed by guaranteed state funding and a proactive roadmap that looks 100 years into the future. And that roadmap has a name, Tiangong Kaiwu. It's a massive, comprehensive plan to not only harvest resources and build infrastructure, but also to build a transport network from here to Mars, and crucially, to write the rules for all future space traffic. In effect, it's a plan to lead humanity's next chapter. Through unbelievable investment and a vision that spans generations, China is making a fundamental shift. The message couldn't be clearer. The Middle Kingdom is transforming itself into the orbital kingdom. They have cracked engineering problems that have held humanity back for decades. They are building an industrial network that will stretch from the Earth to Mars. It's an incredibly bold vision, and it leaves us with a really big question to think about. Is this the blueprint for the future of all of us, or is it just one nation's future? So what do you think about China's Interstellar Silk Road? Is this the kind of future you want to see? Let us know what's on your mind down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this look into the future of space, do us a favor and hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the tech that's changing our world. Your support really helps us keep exploring these incredible topics. And hey, if there's something you want us to break down next, drop your suggestions below. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay curious.